your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein,
Yes.
it left some lingering mysteries.
Yeah, sure. If
Hey, Pam, could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things.
That's funny, isn't it? And isn't that just ironic? It's like so facetious. Yeah, we do have Texas, and we have, citizens getting deported and sent to other countries, including concentration camps that are being built in America, like Alligator Alcatraz, and money being rerouted and reallocated to fund things like this, to lock up people, legal citizens who've been here and been guaranteed citizenship under many numerous acts guaranteed by Congress in the past, like the Dreamers, and many of them, people are being snatched up with no due process that is enshrined in the Constitution that you must have in order to deport someone to prove that they're illegal. We have the floods, like you mentioned, that you clearly do not care about. You were just seen the other day golfing and eating ice cream. You cut FEMA, you cut the NOAA to predict and forecast many of these catastrophic, ravaging floods that have happened all across Texas, and natural disasters that are going to continue to occur because we don't have enough oversight and enough, forecasting and predicting methods and technology that researchers need, and that people like weathermen need to inform local residents about something before it happens in order to protect the society and the community. You gutted that, you cut that. You cut people off of their Medicare just the other day, just to give a huge tax cut to these billionaires that don't need tax cuts. Oh, poor billionaires, they only have 5 yachts instead of 10 yachts. Meanwhile, a single mom can't even, put food on her table while working 3 separate jobs. And that's even going to get worse, because now that single mother, under any circumstances, and I get if people are abusing the system, then take them off of Medicaid. I'm all for that. That's not what this administration is doing. Let that be clear. This administration is cutting it. Let's just say, what is it? They're driving the car before turning on the damn car. They're cutting off these people from their essential services that they need, they rely on to survive, and particularly disabled people like this individual who I unfortunately came across on TikTok the other day. Very, very, very sad.
You think the big beautiful bill won't affect me because I'm disabled? I'm not able-bodied to work. So that's good.
That is truly heartbreaking, my friends. That is seriously makes me pessimistic and despairing about the future when I see videos like that. But people like that individual are going to suffer the most greatly because of these unchecked, reckless, and impulsive cuts made to these vital programs. And also, this is coming in the midst, I have so much I want to say at once. So now we're concerned about the hurricanes, about the floods. Give me a break. Give me a break. About the floods, the guy does not care about these floods. People are begging for help. They're making videos. They're calling emergency services. They're trying to get a hold of people. There is videos. I will show you a couple of videos here.
Okay, my house is flooding. Anybody out there,
I have my dad on hospice and I need to get him out of here. He's bedridden. He can't walk. He can hardly move. And look where the water is. So somebody please, we've called 911. It's bad over here. In front of the house, it's like a river. I mean, it's like a lake. They can't come look. We've lost our cars, everything. We've lived here for 30 years and this has never happened. So anybody, please, if you have a boat or something, I need help. I need to get my dad out of here. It's starting to smell like sewer in here.
And there's a video of that woman who was trying to get help. Her dad is pretty much on the brink of death. He needs services to survive, and they've called for help. The police cannot come because there's a flood, and Donald Trump has not sent the National Guard or any help from the federal level for that matter. So let me get this straight. Donald Trump thinks it's warranted and acceptable, and this is indefensible. This is inexcusable. If you're a Trump supporter and you're defending this, you're in a cult. And you already are, but this is you're so entrenched in this cult. I don't know. But if you are not going to criticize Donald Trump for doing this, but praise Donald Trump when he sends the Marines and the National Guard in to deal with protest and root out peaceful protesters who were exercising their freedom of expression and their right to protest and their right to offer dissent to the administration in Los Angeles. Donald Trump sent the military and authorized this deployment of the military into Los Angeles to combat people, even peaceful protesters and bystanders. They were hitting and assaulting people on the sidelines that weren't even a part of the protests. And Donald Trump can't send them to help with the floods in Texas. And Texas voted for Donald Trump by 13 points in the last election, 13 points, and particularly this area. But now they don't have the technology and the advanced resources to forecast and foreshadow these detrimental events that leave areas in ruins, leave communities completely ravaged and wiped out. And again, these are Republican areas because they didn't have the technology that the weathermen and the people, the experts need to help filter that, to understand that, and to offer their best advice on how to conquer that, and possibly prevent it and warn its residents before it happens, before people's lives. What is it? The death toll is like 120 now. Just in Texas alone, in this particular anecdote, this particular instance. And what is the missing? There's like 30 people yet to be found that are missing. And of those 120, I believe, 40 of them are children? People who have died because of Donald Trump's cuts. Literally, this is literally. And people say, oh, don't blame it on him. Donald Trump even said himself that this is once in a century disasters that are happening. Just so happens to be happening during his presidency. Oh, it's just a mere coincidence, isn't it? And then he's trying to redirect and project the blame onto other people.
President, in light of the floods, do you think that the federal government needs to hire back any of the meteorologists who were fired in the last few months?
I wouldn't know that. I really wouldn't. I would think not. This was the thing that happened in seconds. Nobody expected it. Nobody saw it. Very talented people are there, and they didn't see it. It's, I guess they said, once in 100 years. They've never seen anything like this. So I wouldn't, people are trying to blame the school. They're trying to blame the camp. They're trying to blame. It's just a horrible thing. But no, I wouldn't say that.
This guy is seriously a pathological, congenital narcissist. He's an egocentric, egotistical manipulator, so much to the extent where he even successfully, may I add, manipulates his self, his own mind. That's how warped his cognitive state is. And let me tell you this: I never liked Donald Trump, even back in 2016. But back in 2016, his campaign had merit. Okay, it had a basis. It meant something. Now, everything that he ran on in 2016, being anti-establishment and being anti-special interests and being pro-America and America first and make America great again and drain the swamp, get all the bad crooks and corrupt politicians out of there. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has taken $230 million from Israel. That's another country. And in exchange for favors done for Israel and its government. And who knows with other countries. I mean, he accepted, $30 million during his first term from Saudi Arabia and a couple other countries. Russia had influence in our elections. And that's already been proven. I mean, it doesn't mean that it was stolen from Hillary, but there definitely was influence that definitely pointed to them trying to help benefit Donald Trump and his campaign while hurting Clinton and her campaign. But it's so nerve-wracking, all of this is. But back to the main point, okay, about the Epstein files. So he gets all flustered and he goes off and he unloads, completely gets just, livid when somebody asks him, this reporter, in the most proper civil manner, by the way, asked him about the Epstein files because he promised months ago that he was going to release them. And now, of course, he's backtracking and backpedaling and trying to twist the narrative of what he said, his own words. But the people in his administration, Pam Bondi, I believe is the name of the woman who was in charge of that, and some other people in his administration said that they were going to release the Epstein files and declassify them shortly. This was 4 months ago. And now, just recently, it's a new disclosure, they're saying that there is no Epstein files. So it went from, we're going to release the Epstein files, we're going to declassify them and put them out and exhibit them to the public, to, oh, there's no Epstein files, it's just made up. Oh my God, give me a break. Give me a break. And these Trump supporters are actually going to believe Trump? And some of these people, when they say, oh, there's no Epstein files, we've known that there's Epstein files for 15 plus years. There is Epstein files. And it shows a record. Donald Trump was actually reportedly on it 7 times. You can fact check me, do whatever you got to do to substantiate and authenticate and validate my claims. Donald Trump was on that flight log of Jeffrey Epstein, the world's most infamous and nefarious pedophile in the world. He was on his flight log 7 times. 7 times, Donald Trump was. And it's hard telling why. It's because he had some shady, delusive stuff that... And Trump's a pedophile, too. We already know that. He told tell a 13-year-old girl that he'll be dating her in 10 years. He said to her parents, a 13-year-old girl's parents walking down the escalator, that, oh, I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Are you serious? That's a 13-year-old girl. You just said that. He said he was going to date he said if Ivanka weren't his daughter, he'd be dating her. He'd be dating his daughter. He said, he was asked a question, I believe on The View actually, of what he has in common with his daughter. His daughter said what she has in common with him is real estate. You know what he said? He said he'd like to say sex. Oh, I have in common with my daughter sex. Who the fuck says that about their daughter? Who rubs their daughters and fondles all over their daughter's legs? This guy's a creep. This guy's a pedophile. And that's exactly what he is. And that's why he's doing everything in his power to block these from getting released to the public. He knows the truth. He knows that he was very, very good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. And there's video and photos to prove it. He'll say it's AI. No, these photos have been out since the 90s, since the 80s, since the early 2000s. They're real. And they've been friends. Everybody knows that. And sure, you'll say, oh, Bill Clinton was on it too. Okay, fuck Bill Clinton. Who gives a shit? Bill Clinton's not the president of the United States right now. Biden wasn't on it. Kamala Harris wasn't on it. AOC, Bernie Sanders, nearly all of them weren't on it. I don't even think George W. Bush was on it. And you'll say, oh, well, Bill Clinton was on it. Who gives a shit? Bill Clinton's not president. Bill Clinton was president 25 years ago. And since Bill Clinton's on it, I condemn and denounce him for that. I think that's wrong. I think Bill Clinton is a creep for that. He was a good president, but I think that was very wrong of him to be friends with Jeffrey Epstein. And maybe he didn't even know. I don't know. But it's clear that Donald Trump was closer friends with Jeffrey Epstein than Bill Clinton. And I think everybody knows that. So, yeah, it's just, you can't deny basic facts. Because we all know that Donald Trump was on Jeffrey Epstein's flight log 7 times. That's a fact. Like, that's nothing to be argued with. That's not speculative. That's a baseline fact. And the fact that he's trying to deflect, use his manipulation deflection tactics that he often uses to try and say, oh, what about the hurricanes? What about the floods? What about Texas? What about all this other stuff? All this other stuff that you've done to hurt the American people? Yeah, let's talk about that other stuff. Let's talk about people that you're deporting. Let's talk about how you're cutting and raising taxes on 95% of Americans just to give the top 1% more tax breaks and deregulation, and trying to make it so where big corporations are taxed at a lower rate, while meanwhile everybody else is taxed at a higher rate. Let's talk about that. Let's do that. Let's talk about how you pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Let's talk about how you completely had all these rollbacks and, took us out of all these, exterminated a lot of these international programs and treaties to help combat climate change, to come together with major countries on Earth to help slow the effects and the impacts of climate change. But no, you decide to take us all out, to dismantle all of our progress, and because of that, we are now accelerating into the damaging effects of climate change that my generation and the generation after me is going to have to deal with for the rest of our lives. He doesn't care. He's going to die in 10 years. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't even care about his family, if you really think about it. He doesn't. Let's talk about how he dropped a bomb on Iran and escalated tensions there, and now Iran hates us even more. So if there's a war in the future, you know who to blame. Let's talk about the fact that grocery prices have only accelerated and only went up since Donald Trump's entering in office. Let's talk about this other stuff. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how the American dollar, the $1 bill, has actually depreciated, has actually decreased about 12% in value since Donald Trump has become president. Let's talk about all these things. I can go on and on and on. I could talk about Social Security being cut. I could talk about the stock market collapsing. I could talk about how our global reputation is tarnished and how the leaders around the world and NATO and our allies, how they absolutely detest and despise us now, how they don't even trust us, how we're literally put on a human rights watch list because of Donald Trump. Yeah, that's the truth. America was put on a human rights watch list because of this administration. And let's talk about how our adversaries and how our enemies are starting to like us now because they think we're on their side. They think we're helping out Russia. They think we're helping out North Korea. They think we're even with Israel too. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you and your big elites, your establishment Republican elites, who just passed the most expensive bill in history, by the way, what's going to add like $6 trillion to our national deficit over the next 10 years. I'm going to have to pay that off. My family, if I ever have kids, is going to have to pay that off. We're going to have to pay interest on top of that debt. Let's talk about how everybody in your cabinet is starting to separate from you because of how disgusting and how repulsive and how uncoordinated of a person you are, how bewilderingly abysmal and egregious of a person you are. Let's talk about how even Tulsi Gabbard came against you. Let's talk about how Elon Musk couldn't even stand you for 2 weeks. He's creating a political party because of you. He's creating a brand new party after just 2 months of serving in your administration, because of how you betrayed him. How he, which I don't know, I don't like Elon either. I don't think has good intentions, but Elon had this, Doge. And the funny thing about that is we were actually still spending more than we were under Biden, under Doge. But now it's completely out of the water. It's skyrocketing now because of these massive, massive tax cuts. This costs a lot of money. Let's talk about how almost 20 million Americans are going to be kicked off of their health care because of Donald Trump's big, ugly bill, the worst bill in American history. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you convened with Republicans to offer Lisa Murkowski, the senator from Alaska, saying, oh, if she votes for this bill, we'll just wipe Alaska off from it. Alaska won't have to deal with the effects of this bill. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how the Republican Party is a bunch of spineless turncoats. And a lot of the Democrats are too. I will say that as well, because 100 and some Democrats voted to not impeach Trump when he tried to start war with Iran. 100 and some Democrats. Can you believe that? We need to remove every single one of those fucking Democrats. Every single one of those that voted to not impeach Donald Trump after he literally did unauthorized and without a unilateral strike of Iran, without congressional approval. That right there is an impeachable offense on its own. And Democrats said, no, let's not impeach him. 120 some Democrats said that. Oh my God, you got to primary every one of those Democrats. We need leaders like AOC. We need leaders like Bernie Sanders. And you'll say, oh, he's crazy. What's crazy about him? Let's hear it. Universal health care. Let's talk about that too. I'll make another video about that sometime. Universal health care, ensuring that people can eat and people don't have to work many jobs just to provide for their family, that the rich don't get more richer, and while the middle class and the middle class and the poor should get more wealthy, as opposed to the people who are already rich. Is that so radical? Is that so extreme? No, it's not. It's not. That the rich should pay a little bit more and contribute a little bit more to the general society, because they receive a lot of the benefits, so they should help everybody else out, and they can still keep their wealth. If we tax them even 10% higher than now, I mean, we'd still generate billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue that we can use to help feed people, to help make it so where disabled people can have easily accessible resources that they need, because disabled people can't work. People who are crippled, people who are completely handicapped, they cannot work. That's common sense. They can't work. And for them, they're going to die. A lot of them are going to die because they don't have the money they need to eat. It's plain and simple. They don't have the food stamps that they need, that they rely on. And I get it. People abuse the system. That does not mean that you take it away from everybody. Even the lawful people who are, making proper use of the system. So let's talk about all these things. Let's talk about how you're a pedophile, Donald Trump, and how you are refusing to release the Epstein files because you know that will expose you, because you know you're depraved, you're unhinged, you're diabolical, and so many other words that I can use. So vile, ghastly, grisly, so many. Sordid, abominable, atrocious, evil, immoral, iniquitous, every one of them corrupt, crooked, anything, any word that has a negative meaning tied to it, Donald Trump can be called and classified, because that's who he is. So if you support him, I don't know what to tell you. You're hurting yourself. Unless you're a part of the richest 1%, then I understand why you support him. If you're within the richest 1%, I understand, because you're getting tax cuts. You're making more. You're making more profit while everybody else suffers on the backs it's on the backs of the middle class and the poor and the lower class. So I understand if you're rich and you want to support him, but if you're not, then you're voting against your best interest. You're supporting the epitome of the opposite of your best interest. So just keep that in mind. See you.
And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success